Shalom, Rastafari, Assalamu alaikum, and peace to the kings and the queens of earth. How's everybody doing today in the beginning of the week? Hope everybody had a great holiday weekend. Get to see family, get to relax, got to maybe eat some good food, maybe get with the kiddos and have their imaginary world going crazy, things like that. Hope everyone's doing well. Today, I just wanted to get into it, man. I want to talk about because we are obviously in the spring season. If you're up north here, we're starting to get, a little bit of better weather, thank goodness. But it's kind of like roller coaster of seasons where you can possibly get a lot of good weather for a week or two, and then all of a sudden, possibly, it can go, to snow the next day, but we're going to enjoy it while we have it. So what that brings on, though, what that, kind of brings up, so to speak, is also emotional triggers is what I want to talk about. And literally it's just because we are into that beginning series of, literally being in that realm, that new season, sun's out more, getting more your rays, people want to go outside. We've all been hibernating for like 4 or 5 months, and these things can literally bring on a lot of emotional triggers. So I wanted to just kind of like talk about that today. And again, shout out to everybody. Continue to listen to that, called Tracy Genesis, Selassie Soldier, and new music coming out pretty soon. Of course, new shows. Could have a show coming up this week, actually. And definitely some new shows coming up in May. So stay tuned. You know me, I only lock in things or announce them when they're confirmed. So definitely don't want to get ahead of the trigger here. So, but getting back to the subject at hand. Excuse me. Emotional triggers. And this is the funny thing is I wrote the blogs all last year. Excuse me. And I was able to, I wrote these blogs and I was able to save all the notes. And I knew that I was going to probably manifest this situation into like a more speaking podcast or more, even just to have the subject around. So I kept the notes from last year of all those blogs that I did write. And I'm glad I did because I now have, tons of material that I can go back and talk about in more detail. And around this time last year, I talked about emotional triggers and basically how we can control them, how we can pretty much get better at them, and what I've done to repair myself. I think every single year, if you're not evolving or trying to get better, you are just like that gerbil who is, in that cage playing on that wheel and just running, but you're going in place, trying to turn it up, but you're not really doing anything. And I think that if you're evolving every year, even if it's just 1%, 10%, 3%, 50%, 0.5, or even 0.001, or whatever the hell, you are still improving from what you did last year. People understand you put your money in a stock or put your money in an investment, even if it was, went up 3% only in 1 year, that's still profit. And that's still better than you losing 3% or going negative 3%, right? So anything that's better. People want to just jump and just be completely better and within one season or have a complete drastic change, and that's just unrealistic. So really with the emotional triggers I want to get into is literally what happens like when we're triggered, right? And I wanted to get this to the season because we are now back out of that hibernation period. I feel like when you're up north in the wintertime, you really can't get to see people a lot, right? So you're not really, triggered that much because of the fact that you're not really doing a lot of interactions. And some of those interactions are short. And now with the weather opening up, literally, you see more people, you do more things, you're way more active. And that could bring on more relationships that are either temporary, they could be long-term, they could be just for the time period that are very deep, but they bring out emotional triggers as far as interactions, and you have to be healed out of your situation. I think that it is very, 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 I understand totally. When you are going through that hibernation period, when we're locked down for 6 months, wintertime, it is very hard for people to heal. During the pandemic times, I think that the society took a very, very big hit on mental health. What they were doing to us and what they were forcing us to do because of the situation, because of what was going on. that to me literally, you know, set a lot of people back. And you had to be somewhat mentally tough to get through these things and to heal somewhat as far as, trying to improve and trying to evolve. But I guarantee it set a lot of us back. For me personally, it put me in a pause in life. Didn't really know what the hell I was going to do, what was going on. You know what I mean? I was just kind of like by myself, but not really. And then when you're in that vulnerable stage, you make decisions to either go with someone or be with someone in a relationship that, or rush into relationships that you may not have usually have done in the past. And, when people catch you in those things, it could be, drastic. It could be very dangerous. It could end up very badly. So that's what kind of happened during that time. But during this time, the hibernation period, I felt like there was things that were there's always improvements, right? There's always just improvements that you can make. You strive to be the best person you can possibly be. You're not going to be perfect, but you strive to get better. I've learned that over the past, even just 2 to 3 years, right? When you lock down yourself and you figure out that you really can't trust too many people. You can't invite too many people in your circle. You can't have tons of people have access to you. You can't, I'm glad that I see a lot of people are back to keeping some of their locations private. I remember 2, 3 years ago, I think that people have kind of smartened up where they just would post everywhere that they were, what they were doing, what they were, just constantly involved in as far as present time. And I know people still do that, but sometimes that gives people who don't really need access to you access, and they can take that and use it against you. So sometimes, like I said, what happens when we get triggered, right? Like when someone says something or someone may, go a certain way or put you in a certain headspace. It's definitely, there's things that I'm sensitive about still that I have to get better at. And I think we all have things that we need to get better at also. I read this book again. I recommend this book to some people. And it talked about, and I'm gonna bring it up again because I kind of, it kind of was a good book, but some of these books, these mental health books, come from a perspective, and this one it had some good tips. I got some good food from it, but you can tell it was coming from the perspective of maybe people who are just trying to find happiness in life when they already have everything, right? They have the money, they have the cars, they have the family, they're still not happy. Whereas it's like people in my position, we're trying to get just anything we can. We're grinding from the bottom. We do know that if money wasn't an issue, we probably would be much happier because of what we would be able to do with that money. And some people say that money can't buy happiness. Well, I disagree, because if you can find out how money can make you happy, then it can clearly make you happy. If you probably already have it and you just don't think that that's going to make you happy and put you in a position to be happy, then that's why it wouldn't buy happiness. But literally, this book was about your emotions. And one of the good things I was talking about with my boy earlier is that I always remember that it had a good visualization of emotions. And what it described, the visualization, or what it described in that visual, is that our emotions can be like a streaming river that's just raging, right? Like we're going through, like we're really angry. So this emotional river is just raging through, and instead you're in the river, you're on the canoe, and you're just handling through your emotions, and it's tossing and turning, but you're in there, you're just doing it, you're just going with the flow. Who cares? But if you can take yourself out of that stream and put yourself on the bridge above that stream, so then you could see all the emotions, you can see where the water is, you can see how things are. If you can temporarily do that while you're in these emotions, you will see how the river is, and you will see where it gets better, and you can see what you can do to avoid specific things. And I've there's times I've clearly need to continue to get better, but I have used that in certain times to kind of keep calm, keep your voice down, keep focused, maybe step back, maybe not say anything. I think there's some men who know that like you get to a point where you just have to stop. You've said your piece, you've said it calmly, you said it over again. It's not getting through, so you stop. Instead of just getting loud and getting banging and da-da-da-da and getting angry because this person doesn't understand you, you stop, you calm, you take a step back. And I think that those are some of the good things. And these are just one of the tactics that I've, researched and gone through. I think this is a very complex issue that can go deeper than the fucking blue sea as far as emotions and how you need to handle them. I'm speaking from a perspective from a person who was healed for the past 2 or 3 years, right? Maybe 2 years actually. And it took some events from some close people to really wake me up to like, yeah, you better heal. You need to heal because look what can happen. And even hell, almost even like last year, there was things that were going on, but I was mentally in a better spot to handle it, right? And my reaction, even from the year before, from things happening, was already improving. Sometimes I think the best reaction is no reaction. The best reaction is to let God, Creator, Allah, Jah, Jehovah, handle that revenge, handle those people. Sometimes you have to defend yourself, obviously. You have to just not going to sit there and let someone just run over you. But there's definitely times where you can hone in those reactions, sit there, relax, and let the God handle it and move forward and show your strength. Because it takes a lot more strength to not react and move on than to get into that tennis match back and forth thing where you're just trying to now you're battling a person who wouldn't just wants the energy from you, right? They don't even care. They just want something from you. So literally I suggest that people continue the health journey now, right? Because now it's sunny out and you're thinking, I've been through it. You're thinking everything's good. Now I'm going to get out. Continue to evolve emotionally. The triggers are actually, literally you being triggered is actually your fault. And I had to literally even come to that realization as well. Because even like I said, from the self-help books, basically it has taught me too, is that when someone triggers you, how you react is how you've healed off that trigger, right? For instance, I'll give a quick little example. 15 years ago, if I heard someone calling me some random bum yelling out nigger or the N-word, whatever, I would react. Yeah, whatever. I'd react. I go up to him like, oh, you want to say that? Say it to me. Say it to my face. What's up? Well, I remember 3 weeks ago, I'm in front of Metro, and this homeless person clearly is just, crazy. He's screaming, and he just, as I'm walking up, he's like, oh, there's a nigger. There's a nigger. Look at that. There's a nigger. He's just yelling it, screaming it. I'm talking about this is like 2 o'clock in the middle of the day, sunny out. It's kind of cold. There's old people walking all around. He's not whispering it. He's screaming it. There's a nigger right there. There's a nigger. So I looked right at him, and there was not one part of me that wanted to react. I didn't care. You are homeless. You're clearly going through a lot of stuff. You're sick, and you're just yelling it out. Hell, you could have Tourette's, or you can have a knife on you, and you think I'm going to die or get sliced or go get through anything or me possibly being arrested, because ultimately, if I would have went up and punched him in the face, then I would get arrested. Or if I would have done anything or I reacted, that's just how it is. And I just looked at him, I just smiled, shook my head. And the ladies, the old people who were literally up in the corner, they just stopped and looked, and they were just, and I just had my glasses shook up and kept it moving. When I'm in the Metro, I got to get some groceries. That's not, and that's the difference. Now, if he would have came up and put his hands on me, then that reaction is merited, right? That's a different reaction I ain't got to even talk about. But you're yelling out stupid stuff. You probably got Tourette's. I didn't even think about that until this time, until I brought up this podcast. Literally, I didn't even think about it until now. After even that incident, I don't even know what this guy looks like. So those are those things that normally the triggers that normally would trigger you in the past. Now you have evolved and gotten better. For instance, I really think that even I've stopped getting involved in like not calling people out or like, saying things, not even really trolling, but like dropping my opinions on certain issues, knowing good and hell well there's a troll there waiting to react or waiting to just, there's so much pain in the world. And I think that people literally take their pain out on other people by triggering them because they don't care what energy they're getting. You understand? They don't care that the energy is negative. They just want the energy. These are energy like life suckers, right? Like they just take it right out of you. And there's people who do that. They will come up to you out of nowhere, say some wild shit, and it's just like if you are healed, you just look at them and be like, okay, and you'll quickly decipher like what they're going through, or like just know that this is about them, not about you, and you stay calm, and then they come back and apologize, but then you sit there and just like, how many times are you going to apologize? And so then you adjust that way. I have specific actions where if I know you're going to continue to do the same thing, you're going to talk about how you're not going to do it all the time, you're going to sit there and apologize after you did it. I don't even care. I don't even need your apology at that point. You understand? I'm trying not to be personal, but like, you come up, you say something, you wow out, and you're always like that, and you haven't healed. And I'm just being there, and I'm already distant. You're not even in my realm. You're not even in my heart like that. I have a place for you, but it's like you have moved yourself off of a certain level in my security factor in my heart, as far as my security house. You're now level 9. You're way the hell out there. I know where you are. You can talk, you can communicate, but you're talking to me through a walkie-talkie. You're not even in the house. And then you continue to trigger. You continue to kind of do things. I'm just sitting here like not even getting mad because you're not any nowhere near me personally anymore in my mind. So I don't have to react. It's okay. I just stay quiet. And then all of a sudden, the day later, oh, I'm sorry. I'm just going through da. I don't need your apology. I don't need your apology. I don't even care about your apology. I know what's wrong with you already before you apologize. You need to go heal. And there's so many people who need to continue to heal themselves because they need to arm themselves to be better at being emotionally triggered. Because that's the first thing that people do, men and females. You be at the job, your boss says something, you're already on emotional 10 because of things that are going home. Next thing you know, you're spazzing out over something little and you have no clue why. You're out of control and you kind of know why, but you don't want to accept why. And then by the end of the time, when you calm down, you end up looking like a fool because you have to go apologize and sit there to people who are a little bit more healed, and they could be like, I just backed off and let you just do what you do. So literally, in the outro for this entire thing is, I know I talked about healing and men for healing, but everybody needs to just continue to evolve somehow. I'm big on that. I've learned that process for me has worked. Even when there's things that are quiet, even when you have a lot of time on your hands for some reason, but you can make it work, and even when you think that you're stuck and you just don't know the next step, even when your money's a little low and you just think that I don't know how I'm gonna get my meal, continue to have that resilient faith in yourself to continue to heal, because healing is like working out emotionally. Right? It's like you can work out for 6 months, but if you then just don't work out for the 2 months without doing anything, then that 6 months that you have worked out is down the damn drain. Because just like life, you're gonna gain. It's gonna be harder to gain it, easier to lose it. Much easier to lose it, right? Like if anyone knows you work out all these times and you'll lose that shit just as quick, way quicker actually. It's the same thing with you emotionally. If you don't continue to do things for yourself to get better, heal, and even just a small thing, even just to pick up a book and write something for yourself, read, get out more, get more sun, get more grounded, do better things, figure out what makes you happy and do that more, right? Humble yourself. take accountability. These are things I'm talking to myself, man. Like I've done all this. You know, I get into this point like people know I'm humble as hell because I've done all this stuff, every single part of it. So, and I'm gonna continue. You know what I'm saying? Like there's no life is. I kind of compare life to like cannabis or anything that's evolving. Like right, you hear someone who understands cannabis and they call themselves a master. I'm a master grower, master cannabis. I'm a cannabis sommelier, and then you break it down, they don't know nothing. And they can and how can you master something that's continuously evolving? You can't, right? No one has the master to life, right? It's evolving. They might get a good hold on it. They might be a professional. They might be everything, but they cannot say they're the master of life, which is something that evolves all the time. So this is what this is like. Emotional triggers and the way things are opening up as far as springtime and summer and going into and just continue not to get caught up in like, oh my God, let's go outside and have some fun. Like just continue to be militant in your healing. I know a lot of people, it's easy to do it when it's snowing outside. It's easy to kind of do it when you're just locked in. You have no choice, right? Sometimes it's harder for people because all you want to do is sleep and you get more depressed. And sometimes people are resilient. They say, it's time to go harder. And then the sun comes out, you kind of figure, oh my God, I just want to, get into that like enjoyment mode. And this is for people who live up north, right? Northeast, East Coast. Because if you're down south, you're used to the sun being around all the time. So it's not like, that's why, sometimes it's different being down there because the seasons don't shift you emotionally like that. Whereas here, I guarantee there are studies that show that there is a high depression rate and a high suicide rate and a very high, healing psychiatrists, need basically during the months of like October to pretty much May on the East Coast. We come out of a situation where Christmas is Christmas, right? And after Christmas, look at the statistics. January and February are some of the toughest months as far as holiday season, as far as suicide rates, because there's nothing really to look forward to, right? It's just the beginning of the year, and then you try to do something in the moment it fails. All of a sudden, it puts you into a different mindset, and plus the weather is horrible. There are people who I've talked to who said you should never stop. You should never start a resolution in the beginning of the year. You should start it around April when it's sunny out and you have a better mindset. To each his own, I believe in that, but I can understand where they're coming from. So at the end of this thing, just continue to heal, arm yourself up against your own emotional triggers. Again, the emotional triggers, the tests, all these things, they are literally things that you can heal and get better from. There are things that you can continue to arm yourself from. I used to always blame that. Why are you triggering me? I used to always say that shit. You're triggering me to do this. You're making me do this. No, that's not taking accountability on anything. If you're strong and mentally on it, no one can really trigger you like that. They can say whatever they want. They can get deep. They can get whatever, and you look right at them with the cold stare, like you're not. This isn't working. You're trying to do something that's not working. You're trying to hurt me. You're trying to trigger me, and that trigger has been removed. So continue to arm yourself up and have fun in these spring times, right? Continue to get out, get grounded, do everything you can to enjoy yourself. And hopefully it's a good season for everyone. Thank you for listening. Talk to you guys soon.